Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. Today is our longer form show, which goes out every Wednesday, and everyone is lucky. Today is one of our interview episodes where we interview someone in the industry. Today, Jeremy, say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good day.
Got to introduce you. Today is an interview with Kevin Hockey. Now, Kevin Hockey is from Real Estate Agency Sales. He's the director and owner there. And so essentially, and also rent roll sales Queensland. So what Kevin does is, acts for real estate agents who are selling their business, whether it's a rent roll or the actual agency throughout Queensland and just Queensland, sorry. So he has been travelling around Australia recently, and he's back now and gave up some time to do this interview with Jeremy, so we appreciate that greatly. Kevin, he's got over 30 years experience in the this sort of industry. 21 of those has been specifically about what he's doing now in the real estate industry, and he's been real estate agency sales for about 9 years, I think. So plenty of great stuff in the interview. We know you'll get a lot out of it. As I said, he's been in the industry and doing sorts of business-related activities for a fair long amount of time. Not giving away his age, Kevin, but so he's going to draw on all his knowledge from acting for all these people and share that with us today. So yeah. We've done a fair bit of work with Kevin over the years, so we know that he's got a lot of good stuff to share. So we'll kick in. Jeremy, what are the top three things that you got out of the interview with Kev?
Yeah, so again, as always, these are really fun interviews to do with, especially with the people that we've worked with for a long period of time. They've got good ideas and they're quite useful. And as you can tell from even Craig making a little bit of a joke now, we are good friends. So the top three things would be probably his passion for real estate and where that comes from. I think that's really important to see where someone's passion in business comes from. What you can learn from him in relation to the sale process. So he goes through the steps and looks at what he actually does. And we actually go through some of the reasons that you should use a business broker as opposed to just trying to do it yourself, which, as Kevin points out, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's obviously a time and a cost that you go to that. And the other thing that I thought was a lot of fun was what you can learn from sports. Like Kevin, Craig and I go back a long way. We're all cricket fans. We love our sport. We've traveled to see sport before. And Kevin actually talks a lot of detail about what we can learn from sport and how we can use that in our business. So I think this is a really fun interview. So thank you everyone for watching or listening, and we'll flick over to the interview now. So thank you very much. Welcome, Kevin, to Business Legal Lifecycle TV and our podcast.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for having me on the show.
So Kevin, do you want to tell us a bit about your history and how you got into real estate?
Sure, we'll do. Look, I think it's probably wise to say up front that I do have some notes here in front of me. I am a real estate agent and well known for talking and getting off track. So I do have some notes and I'll use those throughout this. But your question, my history, how to get into real estate? Look, I think real estate was just the right fit for me. I fell into it and I always felt really comfortable in doing so. I started my career in 1997 and I had a furniture business before that. It was just a natural fit. And as I said, I did have a furniture business before that. And the thing I liked about real estate was I wasn't going to lose any fingers in the process. So that seems to, I remember the day I finished doing my furniture and I stuck my hands out and went, yep, they're all there, I've done well. So. Look, a mate of mine, one of my best mates, we went to school together and I was the best man at his wedding, and we're out on his bucks night and he just said to me, I can see you in real estate, and that sort of stuck in my mind over the years. Yep. And then when I had my furniture business, I was looking at our local papers a lot because we were doing our own advertising there, and there was this guy in the middle pages and just kept seeing him all the time, and his marketing was superb. And so I felt one day I just had to meet this guy. He was quite incredible. So I called him around to do an appraisal on my house just so I could meet him. And then, yeah, a year or so later, I decided furniture was I'd had enough, and
Yep.
and so I rang him up and got him around, and yeah, met him, and he offered me a job, so I got into real estate. It was great. I love real estate. It is my passion, but you know, I'm passionate about business. I love everything about the fundamentals of a business structure. You take risk with the aim to generate a reward from that. Yep. So, for example, the concept of business to me is always about employing people. It's off the back of the book of the E-Myth, I guess, and to give them a job which allows them to buy a car, buy a house, feed their family, and send their kids to school for an education. I think it's quite incredibly rewarding to be a part of those people's lives and supporting them in that way. So my job from there as a business owner is to utilise their skills to generate a profit so they can continue to have a job, and as a CEO, I'm going to get paid appropriately for taking that risk and providing a skill.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so obviously, as you've alluded to, and as we talked about in the intro, you've had a few different businesses, and you've worked in a few different. Why did you move into your own business as opposed to being an employee?
I say quite often I'm unemployable. So look, as an employee, I remember my early jobs, and I always had somebody above me that I just didn't respect, and I just didn't get on with. So I figured if I was the boss, then I got to choose who was going to be employed.
Yep.
And it's probably not the right reason, but I was young and stupid at the time, and that's just how it started out. But I always want things done my way. My wife tells me that quite regularly. And look, even as an employee, I would always look at things and think, how can I improve what's going on here?
Yep.
And I do the same with sport. It's both a positive and a negative, but that's how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think I'm probably unemployable too. And yeah, my wife probably says the same thing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, look, I haven't been employed by someone since I was 23 or something. Right? That's a long time ago.
And there's different personalities, and it's not a fit for everyone. So no, absolutely. So obviously, you've moved into the real estate agent selling business, as we talked about with real estate agency sales. So tell us a bit about why you decided to move into that business rather than real estate or anything else.
I'd been a salesperson for 3 years selling real estate, and then I owned my own real estate office. I had that for 5.5 years, and then I was 3 years as a director and on the board of a franchise group that we had bought with my two partners. Within 3 years, we took that franchise group to second place out of two out of 3 categories. So that was by BRW magazine in 2009. We were considered the fastest growing franchise in Australia, number 2 fastest growing franchise in Australia, and also number 2 for fastest revenue growth. So my role in that group for a while was franchise sales, and before I took on franchise training. So this meant that 1 week I'd be in Cairns, the next week I'd be in Adelaide, then I was in Perth. We even were over in New Zealand. We had 12 franchises there and a master franchisee. So my father died in January 2008. That was a massive shift for me. I no longer wanted to be out running around the country. I really wanted to be home with my family. And by August that year, I'd sort of made the decision. It was time after 20 years to put family first, and that's what I've been doing since then.
Yep.
So at the time I quit. I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do, none at all. And that was in September, and by October I was out of there. And I had 2 mates. One is a good mate of mine, Red Monkey Coaching, and he said to me, I should do franchise sales and do business sales. And another mate of mine said, look, I really should be a coach. So I created the company Kevin Hockey Business Solutions, and I coached for about 2 or 3 years. that I really wasn't passionate enough about it. I wasn't even skilled enough to do it, and the brokering had taken off. So I changed the brand to real estate agency sales and focused on the brokering. And since then, it's been fantastic. So I had a lot of contacts and a fairly good reputation in the industry overall, and it was screaming at that time for another player in the brokering side of the business. So 10 years later, I'm still doing it and absolutely love it.
Yeah, great. So let's talk about your experience. So obviously, with that pedigree, you've got a lot of experience in the industry. So how do you think that's helped you to do what you're doing now in the business sales side of things?
Absolutely enormous. There's nothing my clients have felt or been through that I haven't experienced. So I understand their businesses quickly. I can read all the relevant information and know exactly what that tells me. So the issue for many business owners, the truth is that they probably shouldn't be in business. They've started out for the wrong reasons and their focus is in the wrong areas. So if we take, for example, a hairdressing, I had a mate who had a hairdressing salon, and he said this to me early in my career. He believed he could do really well on the hairdressing salon because most hairdressing salons are owned by hairdressers who are fantastic at cutting hair, but they're not great at business. So a lot of hairdressers go broke simply because the owner of the business is a brilliant hairdresser. They just haven't improved in their skilling up in business and management. And you can say the same thing for mechanics, bakeries, and certainly in real estate. So
lawyers
in real estate, well, I thought of saying that, but I thought, no, I won't say that one.
No,
that'll open up a whole new conversation, you know.
We'll throw it all in. Great technicians aren't necessarily great business people, so yeah.
well, that's right, and certainly in real estate, many real estate offices are owned by salespeople who feel the next step for them is to own their own business. But the reality is I'm talking about the back end where they're saying I was making a lot more money as a salesperson. I was a lot less stressed. Life was much better for me. I've got two on the market with me at the moment are exactly in that position where they've said after so many years, I'm not making as much money as what I used to, and it's just hard, really, really hard. So, so look, I do get that situation a lot, and the business just becomes a noose around their neck. So, business owners continue to work on the skills they're already qualified at, but the real area they need to improve is neglected, and that's how to run and operate a business. So it's important, I think, to recognise that profit's just not a four-lettered word. So you owe it to your staff and their families to make profit. You owe it to suppliers to your business to make a profit. You owe it to your wife and your children to make profit. And you owe it to yourself to make profit. So I just hear, often you hear a lot of other people who are outside of business, they seem to act as though profit's a dirty word, and I think that's dangerous. We need to realise as business owners, that's what we're there to do. And look, if you're not happy being in business and you aren't making any money and you're stressed to the eyeballs, you've really got two decisions, don't you? So you either get help or get out. But the challenge is, if you're needing to get out, you're not been making profit, you can't sell a business that's not making a profit. So we as brokers, we're not miracle workers. Buyers simply won't buy a business without a history of making money.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I mean, at the end of the day, you're in it to make money. If you can't make money, then what's the point of selling it?
Well, yes, what's the point of selling it? And simply it's unsellable. The same thing, I mean, we don't have it in my industry. There's no cash monies in real estate, but everything's got to go through trust. But I see other businesses, and there is a lot of cash flowing through them, and to not put all that cash through the books, well, it might be good for you in the short term, but when it comes to selling, it's going to have an effect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I know you love your cricket, and you're a bit of a sports nut like myself and Craig. So, I think that there's a lot of lessons to be learnt from sport. So, how do you think that those lessons that you've learnt from sport have helped you in running a business?
This is a great question. I've spoken at some seminars and things before, and I've actually talked about the correlation between sport and business. Yeah, I do love cricket. I'm cricket tragic, still playing at this ridiculous age, as I do many sports, and we both love our footy.
That's right.
And I know how much you and Craig love the Manly Sea Eagles. And with
No.
But we certainly have a combination of our passion for the Broncos, essentially. So, all good. Look, I'm a firm believer that there's enormous correlations between sport and business. In sport and business, you're part of a team. Even if you're in an individual sport, each team still has a team around it, whether you're a racing car driver, a tennis player, golfer. There's a team around you that you rely on. So whether that's coaches, managers, training partners, physios, and so on. So everyone within the team has a role to play. And if anyone falls short of that role, someone else has to pick up the slack or you lose. In sport and business, someone has to lead. Someone has to say, follow me. In sport and business, there needs to be structure, and everyone has to follow that process. You can't be in a rowboat and you're heading up the river and aiming for the finish line, and you've got the guys down the back saying, no, I think we should go this way, and the guys in the middle saying, no, I think we'll head off to the right over here. And it's just not going to work, is it? So everyone needs to be rowing in the same direction. There's a proven method to achieve success in sport and business, and everyone needs to be going the same way. I certainly know in my business we had monthly team meetings, and that was all about ensuring everyone understood the direction that we were looking to take. So I would even put up our P&Ls on the board and show them exactly where we were at. They all understood where we were, and I talked about what our plans were for the following month and the following 3 months, and just made sure we were all rowing that same direction. In sport or in business, you need to be able to create trust with the people that are around you. Creating the right environment that allows people to achieve their dreams is paramount in sport and in business. So I think those are just some of the key details as to why I think sport and business closely resemble each other. I read a book once, David Parkin, he's a 4-time AFL premiership coach. He was awarded this Australian Sports Medal in 2000 and a Medal of the Order of Australia in 2013. In 2002, he was inducted into the Australian Hall of Fame and the Sports Australian Hall of Fame in 2010. So highly credentialed. And he was at the Carlton Footy Club when he met the CEO at the time, who was Paul Burke. Now, Paul had been the CEO of Australian companies like Campbell's, Cadbury, Arnott's, and he was the CEO there of the Carlton Footy Club at the time. Together they wrote one of the best books I've ever read, and it was brilliant for me at that time. It's not an easy one to get a hold of, but if you can, it's well worth the read. It's called Perform or Else.
Okay.
It's a brilliant book which goes through how the worlds of sport and business can learn so much from each other. It was a brilliant read for me. I loved it, and if you can get your hands on it, highly recommend it.
Yeah, we might see if we can find it on Amazon and post it in the show notes.
Yeah. Have a look, see what you do. I had a look around. I haven't got a copy with me. It's in storage at the moment, but yeah, it's a great book. One certainly really worked well for me.
Yeah, cool. All right, so let's transition over. As you know, this month is all about Phase 11 sale of business in Business Legal Lifecycle TV. So I wanted to talk to you with your experience about business selling process. So from your perspective as a broker, what can you tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about selling the business and selling process?
Sure. Look, the process sounds simple, but it can be quite complex. There's a lot of knowledge and information and experience. I think that and that probably is the same for most people in their roles, whatever it is that they're doing. But it's certainly the case here for us. Different industries have their own overseas regarding the process of selling, whether it's a news agency, post office, a hotel, bakeries, management rights, franchises, and us here in real estate as well. We all have specific legislations and sale processes. Having the right people involved in the sale is critical. So some businesses will have more buyer interest than others. I was recently talking to a general business broker, and he was telling me how online businesses now have really taken off, and no surprises there, is there? They're really popular, so they're going well at the moment. Look, most businesses, they have a multiple applied to their profit, and a broker is going to help you define what that multiple is. It's important to speak with your accountant and have them provide a profit and loss for sale purposes. That's different. That P&L will be different than what you provide to the ATO. In that, the seller's personal costs will get taken out for sales purposes. So directors' wages, your vehicles, personal phones, home electricity, other director-related costs. So this is all a normal process. Your accountant will strip those out of the profit and loss. That will then improve the profit position, but that opens the door then that the buyer, they understand that that's the case, and they're going to add in their own costs and profits into the equation from there. In residential real estate, the process is somewhat different. We don't apply a multiple to profit. The goodwill is primarily through the rent roll. So that's the collective rental properties under property management. So we apply a multiple to the property management income. Buyers are looking for a few key points when they're looking to buy a business. They're looking for a business with a clear history of profit. They're looking that the business is not reliant on the owner. This is a big one. So a buyer's looking for a business that's not reliant on the owner to generate the income. So again, going back to the E-myth, and I'll bring that up again a little bit later, but having the staff and systems should be the driver of the business, not the owner of the business. Good staff on fair wages and with a history of consistent performance is another thing that buyers are going to be looking for. So they're just some of the primary things that buyers are looking for when they're looking to buy a business.
And on that point, one of the things that I'm very big on is making sellers think about what buyers actually want. How important do you think that is? The sellers think about buyers and the buyer's perspective before they go ahead and get their business ready for sale.
Absolutely. And in real estate, we used to, I would say to owners who wanted to sell their house, go stand out the front of your house, look back at it and think of it as if you were a buyer. And a lot of sellers are buyers as well because they've just bought another house and that's why they're moving. So it was really about getting them to put the buyer's hat on as well. So I remember selling a house early in my career out at Aspley, and it was a 5-bedroom house with an in-ground pool in the backyard. It had a sauna. It was the Mickey Mouse house. It was an absolute ripper. But you reckon I could sell this thing? Not a chance. It had a lolly pink kitchen. And everyone would go into this house and take one look at the kitchen, and that was it. They'd run a mile. And then one day I just had this lady walk in and she loved pink and fell in love with it.
Yep.
But, yeah, definitely. So I think it plays a big part.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move into people trying to sell things themselves. And you've probably got some analogies to real estate here, but a lot of people think that they can sell their business themselves. A lot of people try to sell on Gumtree and places like that. Can you give the listeners and the viewers a bit of an idea about how brokers can help and really just talk us through why you should get a broker rather than just try and do it yourself?
Sure. I mean, first of all, you're saying they can sell it themselves. They certainly can sell it, and certainly in my situation, some owners can sell it. I think history says many business owners have sold it themselves. I think the big question is more, it's not so much can they, but should they?
Yeah.
So I'm selling real estate businesses. So all my clients are salespeople, and they know the industry. So there's no question that they're quite capable of selling it. I target many of the people they already know. So, but they still come to me. I've had owners come to me to sell to their staff members. So it's really not a question I don't think of can they sell. I just think should they. It's a big job. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of focus to get to that point where you settle. So I think for most business owners, they're better off staying focused on what they're great at, and that's running their business. So if they get caught up in the process of trying to sell the business, they might lose staff, they might lose sales, lose customers, and if their competitors find out, then they're going to be all over them. So again, I think the big question is should they? Look, I understand exactly what has to happen in the process, and that adds value. I've got the right resources to help them get through the sale. We've got the right contacts to help them. You guys at Stratton Mason's Lawyers, you're one of those contacts, and that I have, and that helps keep things running smoothly and professionally. I know what financiers and valuers want in the process. We meet with them regularly, and we know what they require for a buyer to achieve finance and get approval. So, look, the most common reason my clients come to me is confidentiality. It's vital in what we do, and that protects the business, and big part of our process. We have registered buyers as we go along, and if none of them are suitable, then our marketing is going to ensure that we find the right buyer.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, yeah, in your industry, a lot of people are, salespeople already, but a lot of other industries, they're not. And they're probably not, a salesperson to sell that kind of asset. So, yeah, I think what you say is right about the real estate businesses, but a lot of other people, it's just not their cup of tea, is it?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think as parents, we sell too, don't we? We sell to our kids. So, I think everybody's selling. There might be some businesses that maybe don't do so much, but I think we all sell. As I say, I think the big reason really is that they're better off staying focused on what they've got to do. There is a lot of work. There is a lot that needs to be done. The business broker will help in the contract process, and again, that contract is written in a way that is understood. I jokingly said about Stratton Mason's Lawyers in there as well, having you guys as a contact, but we often see in our process, don't we, and we've got one there at the moment, and it's also about having the right solicitors. There's a lot of different solicitors have a lot of different options. You've got marital lawyers, you've got all sorts of different lawyers, don't you? So
that's right.
If you're looking to sell your business, you need a commercial and business lawyer. You need the guys who know what they're doing and regularly doing it. And if not, it can become problematic. And I've received a lot of phone calls over the years from people who have sold their business, and it's a month, 3 months, 6 months down the track, and there's all sorts of problems, all because they didn't go through a broker and the contract was written up by solicitors, but the solicitors weren't doing this sort of work day in, day out. As I said before, whether it's a hotel industry, news agency, real estate, or any other type of business, there are specifics about each industry that need to be known. And that's why you see in management rights, there's companies that just do management rights sales. I just do real estate sales. You have other brokers who focus solely on hotels because those specifics about those industries are really important. So each of us understand our industry, and we have contracts that are written in a way that we know are going to be approved and are going to protect both the seller and the buyer.
That's right.
Everyone needs to be protected in the process.
All right, so let's talk about what business owners should do to prepare their business for sales. So can you give us some tips on that stuff?
Sure. Good records, really important. Actually, knowing your business, that's what you wouldn't believe how often I'm talking to a seller and they really don't have at their, and they should be at their fingertips, I feel. They just don't understand the numbers to their business. And look, a lot of principals don't even know how to get into the software program that's going to tell them what their business is doing. So whether that's an accounting program or a software program or whatever it might be, it's hard to believe that so many owners of business don't understand the basic fundamentals around what's going on within that business. So where their income's coming from, what their expenses are, profits, wages, the leases, all these things, you need to have them at your fingertip. Know your numbers, know how to access the important information about your business. We talked about it just there before, actually, but yeah, go and stand out the front, look back at the business, and does it look like something that you would want to buy? Today's age, you want to know what your customers are saying about you online. So as you're going along, make sure you're checking online. I do, and see to it that whatever's being said or reviewed is positive. Otherwise, deal with it, but not in a David Warner-like fashion. But yeah, just deal with it in the right fashion. Touch on it briefly, but at least respond to any online reviews. Talk to a broker, chat to them about any leases. Is it better to renew your lease, or should you talk to your landlord about the sale? Yep. You're going to need a copy of any leases. You and I had a fun one a little while ago, didn't we, where we had a buyer and seller all together. Finance was approved and due diligence was completed. Everyone was happy. The only hold-up was the landlord, and the buyer was offering a 7-year lease in like terms to what he already had, and we just never thought it was going to be an issue, but turned out it crashed the whole sale, didn't it? So talk to your broker. And I can't say to you whether to talk to the landlord or not. It'll depend on who your landlord is and what your relationship with them is, and a number of factors. But talk to your broker and just make a decision around whether you should communicate with your landlord or not.
Yep.
Same with your franchisor, if you have one. Should you renew your agreement there, and do you have a copy of your franchise agreement easily available? So have a look into that. Your accountant, we talked about that before. Really important to talk to your accountant and look at getting a P&L prepared for sale. But more importantly, with your accountant, you want to talk about a few other factors, and we'll get into that again really shortly. But do you comply with the legislation? Make sure that all your legislative requirements are all up to date. And if you're a real estate business, then all your property management forms, get them up to date with the new Property Occupations Act under the Form 6s, the appointment forms. The PAMD, the Property Agents Motor Dealers Act, is now 3 years old. The banks just aren't financing those forms anymore, so bring everything up under current legislation.
Excellent. And for anyone who's listening to this from overseas, David Warner is an Australian cricketer. And when Kevin and I are recording this, there was a little bit of an incident in a cricket match. If you're interested, if you Google it, you can probably find out about it. I'm not going to get involved in saying anything that may or not be seen as defamatory against either party. But as we said earlier, Kevin's a cricket lover, and so that's what he was referring to there. And on what you said, Kevin, I couldn't agree more about using the consultants and making sure you have a proper view on the business before you go ahead. I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so yeah, and let's go into consultants. What consultants? Just going a bit more into a bit more depth there, what consultants, should a business owner speak to about selling their business, and when should they speak to? I think that's really important, the timing of that conversation.
Okay. I think the important thing here is, given my experience, is just be careful of too many cooks. You can have, you can go out and be talking to all sorts of people, as business coaches or mum and dad or whatever, and everyone's got an impression, and everyone, some people have an emotional involvement in this process, and they'll know that as a business owner, you've put in a whole lot of blood, sweat and tears over a long period of time, and they feel that there should be a value content to that. That may or may not be the case. So I think it's important to talk to the right people. I was just saying it's important to talk to your accountant, mainly to understand any tax implications. Will the sale have any capital gains implications, and how can you minimise those? I think one of your first phone calls when you consider selling probably needs to be to your accountant and find out what your tax implications are, and if there are any, how you can minimise those. You'll want to talk to a business broker pretty early on, simply just to get an idea of what the value of the business might be.
Yep.
Solicitors, you want to talk to a solicitor, let me know if you need a referral of any solicitors. I think I probably know some good guys there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
I heard of some guys somewhere along the line. They're all right.
Wrote a book, yeah.
Wrote a book, yeah. Did write a book, and look, I hate gratuitous plugs or anything, but so yes, talk to your solicitors, Jeremy and Craig. Obviously, highly recommend those guys. Jeremy can plug his own phone number there. But have a chat with them. Again, fairly early in the process, I think you want to be talking to these guys. Once you've sort of made that decision to sell, then you want to make a choice of who the broker is that you want to use. Contact them, find out a lot more about exactly what the process is going to be, and then at that point you might want to talk to the landlord of the premises, talk to the franchisor, and then of course look at any other leases that you might have on equipment or anything else like that.
Yep.
And whether you need to talk to anybody there in the process about the changeover of the leases. But those ones are pretty standard. I think you would just transfer those equipment leases and things. It's more just the premises lease that I think's potentially any issues at the back end of the sale.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I think people should get a lot of value out of that. We'll put a bit of that stuff into the workbook that is shown on the Facebook and in the show notes. So let's move into the future. So obviously there's a lot of disruption in your industry. There's a lot of disruption in most industries. What do you see as the biggest challenges for real estate and business broking in the next 5 years, say?
Yeah, I saw a discussion on this last night online, and there was a lot of commotion about another real estate industry, another real estate group that started in the industry, and my point to them was they've always been around. There's always been disruptors in probably in most industries. No one's immune to that. So I don't think, I think we get focused too much on what Joe Bloggs is doing around the corner, and we tend to forget the big player, and that's the market. So I think the market's going to have a big play in the near future.
Yep.
I think there's a lot on the horizon. I read 3 articles last week, 3 different people, all suggesting there's some tough times ahead. And my mate, who's a financial planner, and I respect his opinion, he's been talking about a few things to me over the last 12 months or so. So I'm no financial guru, that's for sure, but I am seeing the signs. I think property prices are way over the top. and things might probably need to change there. So, look, so much has changed, hasn't it? But over the years, but so much has also stayed the same. So in business, word of mouth is still the same. Building relationships, caring for our clients, having a great marketing plan, having great systems and a business plan. That nothing's changed, whether it was the 1970s, 1980s, or whether it's now in 2018. All those basic fundamentals remain the same. The structure remains the same. It's just how we go about it with the addition of technology that's changed. So we can't lose sight of what was old still works. I recently wrote an article on this on my blog, on my page, and I don't know that the real disruption is going to come from outside. I think it's going to come or come from within the industry. I think it's going to be more a market influence.
Yep.
Anyone without a vested interest in property prices being high believes property is overpriced in Australia. I don't think it's sustainable. Mostly because now we are seeing for the first time in my life where our current generation are almost giving up on owning a home. They truly don't believe they can afford it. So they're spending the money on travel, cars, toys and lifestyle. And I don't think that can be a good thing. Mortgage levels, when we're seeing at the moment, I think any movement in interest rates are going to make a lot of people very nervous. I know in talking to the banks, which I regularly do, about their lending processes, a recent meeting I had, the banks have reduced, or this particular bank had reduced their lending criteria and dramatically changed where they're lending to. So regionally, they've become a lot tougher. In fact, they're not even doing business lending in regional centres, this one particular bank. So there's reasons for that. I don't know exactly what they are, but I can read between the lines and figure that they're seeing something coming. And I think we need to be aware of that. So I think any mortgage levels, the levels that we're seeing now, I think any movement in interest rates, they're just going to potentially create chaos. I imagine if that happens. I think the banks are showing all the signs right now that they're concerned about something. We had some blips in 2007 and 2011 in property prices, but they've really been soaring the year 2000. And that's nearly 2 decades of very strong growth. I just don't think that can continue.
Yeah, all right. But interesting insights. And we'll link a copy of that article that you wrote onto our show notes as well, so that people can have a look at that. So let's talk about you more personally. What's next on the horizon for you?
Sorry, mate, I was just going to say I really don't like these sort of gratuitous plugs online, but that website happens to be www.reas.com.au.
Very good. So what's next on the horizon for you?
Next on the horizon, a lot more of the same, to be honest. We're flat out. We've been doing this for 10 years, and this is probably our busiest start to a year we've ever had. Really enjoying 2018. There's a lot happening. We've got upgrades we're going to do in our websites and in our systems and structure, but really just much of the same thing. We know what works well for us, and we'll continue to do that. I have got some other business interests, and as you know, I have a travel blog that I run as well. We'll continue to invest in some other projects that align with my strategies. Those strategies are that passive income. I like the idea of passive income. My travel blog is also part of that. And being able to operate remotely. So I mentioned earlier, 2008, when I made all those changes in my life, that was the big one for me, was being able to operate remotely. So since then, I've worked from home, and I can be anywhere in the world really, and pretty much run my business. And yeah, those are the two key things for me.
Yep.
We're seeing some big changes, and before I mentioned how I'd met a general business broker, and he was saying to me that some of the most popular businesses now are online businesses. So it's clearly something that others are operating, and more people want to get into. It's funny because I remember when I first started a business a long time ago, if you work from home, you had absolutely no credibility whatsoever. But and that's how I started out in business. Making coffee tables, would you believe?
Yeah, it's certainly changed now, hasn't it? That it's a lot more accessible to work from home. In fact, the vast majority of new businesses start like that and then develop into something more.
Well, I did focus a lot on profit today, and that's because it's getting harder and harder to make profit. Wages soaring. Everyone's got their hands out, whether it's the tax office or government or councils or somebody, but everyone's always got their hands out. It's getting tougher to make profit. So I really did want to focus on that today. Yep. And that challenge of profit is where we're now seeing more and more businesses running from home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, two of the biggest profits two of the biggest expenses within a business is wages and rent. So if you can take one of them out of the equation, it certainly helps in the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think you've given a lot of great information there, Kevin. Thank you so much for that. Why don't we move into the quick fire round? So I'll ask you a quick question and you tell me what the answer is. The answer doesn't need to be Business Legal Lifecycle, but it can be for anything. So the first one is, what is the current book that you're reading?
Look, since the Business Legal Lifecycle, I haven't really read too much. I have started 2 books, really enjoyed them. Started this one, Success Takes Character. I was really enjoying that one, and the book on McDonald's. So they were 2 which I started, but to be honest, I haven't got too far into them because I'm just too busy writing myself and producing video content for both my this business, for my business broking, and also for the travel blog. So I haven't really got any books on the go right at the moment.
No problems. So well, obviously you've read a lot in the past. So what's the book that you think that every business owner should read?
Really simple answer to that one, apart from the Business Legal Lifecycle. But the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, I have always considered it the business Bible. Every business owner that I talk to, I suggest they should read that. It has that base, a lot of those fundamentals that I talked about before. And my key plan to operating a business, and that is to being able to leverage off people around you. So to me, the concept of business is being able to employ people, and that will allow you ultimately to have a lifestyle, a balance, personal lifestyle and work balance. And that's what we should all be aiming for in our businesses. One of the tests of that for me, I've always talked to business owners, is that can you go away from your business for a month and come back and everything's running as smoothly as the day you left?
Yep.
So I think that's the key to it. So if you can't do that, then you need to build the systems and structure within your business, written policies, written manuals which tell everybody exactly what they need to do when they walk in the door at 8 o'clock in the morning, and how to follow those processes. So E-Myth, for me, that's the business Bible. It gives you a guideline into my thinking there.
Excellent. All right. Now, question number 3. With your 3 decades of experience, what mistake do you see people making on a regular basis?
Not skilling up in management skills.
Yep.
Really simple. So again, whether it's bakery, hairdressing, real estate, or any other industry, what I see is they're a great baker, they're a great hairdresser, and they go in and they go off to more hairdressing conferences and go and improve their bakering skills, but in real estate, great salespeople, they go off to a lot of real estate conferences and learn how to be supposedly better salespeople, but there's just no focus on improving their business skills, and that's where the focus needs to be. They're already good at being a baker. They're already good at being a hairdresser. They're already a good salesperson. They can continue to sharpen that axe, but they really need to skill up in business and management. Apart from that, be a marketing machine. Listening to someone the other day, and his attitude to his marketing, someone said to him, look, I want to unsubscribe from you. I don't want to hear from you anymore. And he said, that's a problem because you're in my industry, and my marketing machine means that you're going to see me one way or another. And I loved that attitude. His attitude was, it didn't matter where people were, they were going to see him. He was all over everywhere. The guy is incredible. But be a marketing machine. And the other thing I've always said, if I was going to go back into real estate business or another business again, the first part of the business that I would set up is the marketing department. The other one, embrace social media. I still can't believe how many businesses out there aren't in the social media space. Like it or not, whether you're good at it or whatever, reality is social media. It's basically free marketing, and it's so powerful. So Facebook, Instagram, let's go, whatever it is, YouTube, they're extremely powerful resources. You need to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So last question. If you could give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be? And that could be yourself as a school, as a child, as an adolescent, in your 20s. Just pick a period, and then what advice would you give?
As I said, I've said a couple of times now, I've made some massive changes in 2008. I came to a reality. We were on our 20th wedding anniversary, and it just dawned on me, for 20 years I've been married, and for 20 years I've been putting business first. So it was pretty much just straight, as soon as we got married that I started in business. So first piece of advice I would give myself is, look, work really hard in work hours, but don't neglect your family. There's too many divorces I see in business, and a lot of that just comes about because they're spending all their hours focused on their business. Our children ultimately want just one thing from us as parents, and that's our time. So make sure you're giving time to your children. Be present when you're with them, and leave the stresses and worries of work at work. So that would be one major bit of advice I'd give myself. Apart from that, on a personal basis, for me, my staff became my friends, and which was great. It created a lot of loyalty, but it made it hard to manage non-performance. So if I personally had that time over again, I'd tell myself, if I want more friends, go get a puppy. But I'd tell me to have their respect first as a leader, and then friendships can evolve from that.
Excellent advice. All right, well, let's conclude. I think, as I said before, I think everyone would have got a great deal of value out of this. Is there anything that we've missed that you want to get to the listeners and the viewers today that you've thought of as we're going, or anything else?
No, I think I've done my job in raving on for a while. So, no, I think it's all in there.
Yeah, great. And finally, where can people reach you? You mentioned your website before, but if people want to discuss anything with you, you've obviously got a social media and an online presence. How can people reach you to discuss anything that we talked about today?
Thanks, Jeremy. Look, I'm probably one of the easiest guys on the planet to find. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all those things. So you can just Google me. I've just found my domain, kevinhockey.com, is down at the moment, so that's being linked back up at the moment. But yeah, our website, REAS, which stands for Real Estate Agency Sales, REAS.com You can find all my contact details there. Mobile number 0447 555 683. Or contact Jeremy at Business Legal Lifecycles and he can put you in touch.
Absolutely. And you've also got a Facebook presence with both businesses as well, don't you?
Yeah, look, I think I'm running about 6 different Facebook pages and all over the place.
It's necessary these days. Well, look, thank you very much for your time today, Kevin. And yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me, Jeremy. Cheers, Mum.
Hi everyone. Okay, so that was the interview with Kevin Hockey and Jeremy. Thank you everyone for watching or listening. I'm sure you got a lot out of that. And as I said, we appreciate Kevin giving up his time and coming in and doing that interview and sharing his wealth of knowledge in the industry. So Jeremy, you want to give a quick summary of perhaps your 3 key takeaways from that interview?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Craig. And as I said at the beginning, the 3 ones that I took away, and I think that everyone should take away from this interview are, where Kevin's passion for real estate and business sales and real estate comes from, because I think that's really interesting, and it shows, niching down to a really specific topic can really help, and his was real estate and selling real estate agencies. The second one is what you can learn from sport. As I said in the intro, Craig, Kevin and I have had a lot of fun going to different sporting events, and so he's got a lot of passion there, but you can see from what he said about how that actually works and how it has helped him develop his business. And the last thing, I think, the third one is just going through the sale process from a broker's perspective and why you should use a broker. So Craig, that's the top 3 takeaways from today's interview.
Excellent. All right, so that's it for us for today. Remember to like us on like the video on Facebook or however you're getting the content. Sorry, it should be Twitter or Periscope or YouTube or wherever it might be. There will be the show notes if you go to the Business Legal Lifecycle website, which is businesslegallifecycle.com.au/071, which is our 71st episode of Business Legal Lifecycle TV. So yeah, you'll get the notes there. And if you've got any questions or anything, please let us know. Get in contact with us. We'll be happy to help. Or if you want to speak to Kevin or anything like that, then we can put together that process as well. So great. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again on Monday for Fast Fix Monday. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.